Have you ever asked yourself, how do you help a loved one stop abusing drugs and alcohol naturally and without resorting to more drugs or medications? And how do you help them stay clean, healthy, and live normally again? Hi, my name is Tibor Palatinas. I'm a certified chemical dependency counselor, and I've assisted hundreds of people end their addiction without drugs. I believe what you want to know is, how do you help them get through their anxiety, guilt, depression, lack of sleep, and cravings, and live a happier life, and do it drug-free and naturally? These are the questions that we'll answer in this video. People abusing drugs and alcohol are all too familiar with their drug and alcohol cravings, guilt, and depression, but they know very little about the hidden cause of addiction and how to eliminate the underlying problems. That's not surprising, since a majority of addictions counselors are in recovery themselves and don't know how to end their own addiction. They believe that addiction is permanent, or at best a manageable, lifelong condition. Sayings such as, once a cucumber is pickled, it cannot revert back to a cucumber, have soured the drug and alcohol rehab industry. But there are a few rehab centers out there that have helped tens of thousands of drug and alcohol abusers eliminate their cravings and the damage that was caused by their drug abuse. People do end their cravings, guilt, and depression associated with addiction in a dozen detox and rehab centers. The experts working in these detox and rehab centers have learned the underlying causes of addiction and have developed a way to help their clients eliminate their addiction for real. We'll share their approach in overcoming addiction in this video. You'll know the basic and real problems underlying addiction and the 7 steps needed to resolving the problems driving your loved one's addiction, so he or she doesn't have to struggle with the drug and alcohol cravings, depression, and guilt for years. We're all born with various degrees of abilities and inabilities. The less able we are, the more dependent we become. An easy example to show is with children. And in their early years, they're unable to cook or work for a living. Therefore, they depend on their parents to survive. As children grow, they learn new skills and, as a result, become less dependent on their parents. The more able children become in dealing with the challenges in life, relationships, and work, the less dependent on the parents they become. Another simple example is an injured person who just broke his leg and is temporarily dependent on crutches until he or she regains their ability to walk. The problem with drug and alcohol abusers is they lack some natural abilities that are basic and essential to succeeding in life. Some or all hidden causes of addiction fit into one of these 9 situations. They have problems they can't solve. Often the problems multiply when they take drugs. Many have unresolved internal conflicts. Sometimes family, friends, the police, or doctors need to step in to help them out. They're unable to tolerate disappointment, pain, and upset. They immediately try to block out painful feelings and emotions. They aren't able to be trusted, and many don't trust themselves. They aren't able to keep their word once given and have difficulty following through on promises. They're unable to be themselves and express themselves easily. They have difficulty remembering things and often forget. They seem to have awfully bad luck. They seem unable to reach their goals and give up on their true goals. They have an awfully hard time telling the truth. If a loved one fits into all of these categories, pay attention, as this program of recovery could save their lives before it's too late. Here are the 2 major reasons people use drugs: to ease pain and avoid problems. Many addictions follow accidents, failures, breakups, losses of self-respect, giving up on life goals, job problems. The list goes on. What is common to all of these situations is an absence of a better solution and an inability to resolve the original problem. Factually, what they're missing is a real, accessible solution to the problem in the first place. Some of these inabilities were present before their addiction, and some came as a result of their abuse. But in all cases, drugs and alcohol have worsened these conditions or inabilities. Drugs and alcohol do 2 things. 1, they provide temporary relief from pain, discomfort, unwanted emotions, and problems. Drugs and alcohol can also create blank spots in one's memory. Ever hear an addict or alcoholic say they forgot? 2, drugs and alcohol make the person less able and therefore create long-term dependency. Now simple discomforts can't be tolerated. such as difficulty sleeping or internal conflicts or discomforts. Their anxiety or depression worsens because drugs and alcohol also ruin their natural abilities. So the more they use, the less able they become, the more dependent they get to drugs or alcohol. The road out of addiction is by providing workable solutions to resolving their life's problems and improving basic natural abilities that are also essential to everyday life. Experience shows that once an individual regains their self-respect and essential abilities to resolve life problems, including pain, that person loses their need for drugs and alcohol. Now, the $1 million question is, how do we do that? Half the answer lies in how drugs rob drug abusers of natural abilities. Despite what a person may think about drugs, the body identifies drugs and alcohol as toxins or poisons as soon as they're taken. Toxins tend to depress the body's natural abilities to feel good, just like taking poison might make one feel bad. Drugs rob one of natural health and wellness. When drugs or alcohol are taken, the liver and kidneys instantly begin breaking the drugs down to eliminate it from the body through urine, sweat, or other bodily functions. Unfortunately, much of the drug is drawn into the fatty tissues that surround blood vessels and becomes trapped before the body has a chance to get rid of it. Studies have shown that drug residues can stay in the fat tissues for years and build up every time more drugs are taken. Physical drug cravings occur when an amount of that drug that is lodged in the fatty tissues is released back into the bloodstream and flows to the brain. When the drug residues reaches the brain again, it reminds the person of the times when he or she used that type of drug in the past and craves more of it. In other words, it acts as an appetizer. And that's what triggers drug or alcohol cravings, which are almost impossible to resist. It would be like trying to quit smoking while continuing to smoke 1 or 2 cigarettes a day. The craving can trigger any time the person's body burns fat for energy. Normal life situations like stress, exercise, or anger can dislodge the drug residues within the fatty tissues into the bloodstream, where they then flow to the brain and cause drug cravings. But that's not all drug residues cause. Drug residues also cause an unhealthy and less able body and mind for months and years. So, half of the solution is to eliminate these accumulations of drug residues from the fatty tissues. Normal detoxification herbs won't do the trick. Only one intensive detoxification program has proven to work. We'll tell you how that works in a minute. It's now time to reveal the second half of the solution. Drug residuals are not the only reason why drug and alcohol abusers lose their natural abilities. Addiction changes people's behavior. There is such a thing as a drug personality. It is artificial and it is created by drugs and alcohol abuse. An alcoholic or drug abuser will eventually lie to family, friends, and employers, become unreliable, have mood swings, be dishonest, and become secretive and distant. Their drug personality will cause them to commit wrongdoings for which they feel guilty. Guilt is a major cause for the continual relapse. Have you ever asked yourself why drug and alcohol abusers have low self-esteem? The Oxford English Dictionary defines self-esteem as confidence in one's worth or abilities. While drug and alcohol abusers tend to justify their actions and abuse to reaffirm their rightness, deep inside they know they're being harmful to themselves and to the ones around them. They know it as they lie and steal from others and feel guilty about it. Mental depression is just a consequence of low self-esteem and guilt. Sometimes, drug and alcohol abusers will try by artificial means to boost their self-esteem by wearing, for example, expensive brand name clothing or putting on an air of confidence, but these artificial means don't really work. The only real way to improve their self-esteem is for them to increase their real worth to themselves and the others around them. For that, they'll need to do a lot of good. And for that, they'll need to once again improve their abilities to honestly and successfully deal with the challenges of life. The solution is to rid a drug abuser or alcoholic of their guilt and then teach them the necessary skills to make a real difference in their life and the lives of the ones they love. Albert Einstein once said, "The type of thinking that created the problem is different than the type of thinking that is needed to solve it." Simply, Drug and alcohol abusers need to gain new ways of thinking, new skills and abilities. And these skills now have to be resident in themselves in order to stay clean, sober, and happy in their new lives. Training people to develop new talents and gaining new abilities is the road to independence. It's also the way to end one's addiction. Now, there are several major approaches to drug and alcohol rehabilitation. The usual common approach is the traditional medical counseling method plus 12-step approach. It believes that once you're an addict, you'll always stay an addict, and the only way to manage your addiction is through medication, ongoing counseling, meetings, and some miracle, as this approach nets about 22% success. While sometimes drugs and counseling are necessary, we don't believe addiction should be a life sentence. Perhaps this explains why drug and alcohol abusers and alcoholics don't flock to traditional methods of rehab. Drug and alcohol abusers don't want to accept the addict or alcoholic label for life. The more workable approach is the one of improving one's skills and abilities so one is able to live a fulfilling life without the use of drugs or alcohol. If you don't want your loved one to be dependent on counselors, others, or drugs for the rest of their lives, this is the time to throw away those beliefs that say he or she needs to be dependent on others, because that's probably why drug and alcohol abusers resist treatment. What drug and alcohol abusers need are new abilities, skills, and confidences to end dependencies on drugs and alcohol and succeed and fulfill their dreams. The founder of the Narconon program, William Benitez, was a former drug abuser and serving time in Arizona State Prison. He learned how to cure himself of his addiction while in prison. Mr. Benitez used simple, life-improving techniques discovered by L. Ron Hubbard, specifically communications exercises to improve his abilities. This is what William Benitez had to say about his experience in 1966. What impressed me most about Hubbard's materials was that they concentrated not only on identifying abilities, but also on methods, practical exercises by which to develop them. I realized that drug addiction was nothing more than a disability resulting when a person ceases to use abilities essential to constructive survival. I found that if a person rehabilitated and applied certain abilities, that person could persevere toward goals set, confront life, isolate problems and resolve them, communicate with life, be responsible, and set ethical standards, and function within a band of certainty. One program we know that effectively helps someone get those skills is the Narconon program as founded by William Benitez. It's effectively done in a controlled and professional environment at one of the established rehab centers that provide the program. The program can be broken into 7 steps. Before beginning any rehab program, people need to be stably and comfortably withdrawn from drugs and alcohol in a Narconon rehab center. A great deal more care than is used in a medical facility is given at a Narconon, as their approach is holistic. A person's physical, mental, and emotional needs must be taken care of. Step 1 includes a series of exercises to help a person, now called a student, to become comfortable in their own skin. Step 1 is about improving the student's natural ability to be comfortable without drugs. They begin to confront the situations in their life. Each student of the Narconon program progresses to the next level of their program only after they reach new levels of ability. Step 2 is the New Life Detoxification Program. That's an intensive detoxification program that takes on average 20 to 30 days to accomplish, and some may take longer than a month to fully detoxify and prepare for rehab. The program utilizes a combination of exercise, induced sweating in a sauna, and nutritional supplements to reduce or eliminate drug and alcohol cravings, reduce or eliminate many of the symptoms associated with drug addiction and alcoholism. These can include depression, irritability, and fatigue. Improve their ability to think more clearly, increase memory and attention span, increase energy, increase sense of well-being, increase enthusiasm towards life. And here's how it works. The exercise causes the body to burn more fat and unleash the drug residuals back into the bloodstream. While unleashing the drug residuals back into the bloodstream causes some discomfort, It also gives the body an opportunity to purge itself of these drugs. Induced sweating in a sauna accelerates the removal of drugs and other chemicals from the body. Drugs and toxins exit the body mainly through urine, sweat, and body waste. The nutritional supplements used are an exact regimen of vitamin, mineral, and oil intake. These vitamins accelerate the mobilization of fat, replace vitamins and minerals lost, and correct any deficiencies. In the program, students need to have sufficient sleep, nutritious meals, and lots of water. The program is results-driven. Students graduate from the detoxification section when a stable clinical improvement is achieved. Step 3 is called Learning Improvement Course. It's hard to stay sober when you feel your life has reached a dead end and you have difficulties learning new skills to improve your life. Ability to learn is crucial. This step shows the student the ability to study and retain knowledge, along with the ability to recognize and overcome the barriers for both studying and learning. Step 4 is all about further improving their ability to control their life, be in communication, and willing to experience life and the real world without drugs or alcohol. Step 5 begins by spotting the troublemakers in their lives. Antisocial associations were found to be the source of their chaotic cycles and depressive moods. These people minimize your loved one's efforts to get clean and may even try to discredit successful recovery methods. Step 6 is all about eliminating their guilt and teaching them the data they need so they can improve their survival. This section is very personal and intensive and may be one of the most vital for their future happiness. Step 7, this is about improving their conditions in their life, relationship, work, or business. In this step, they learn exact step-by-step technology they need to begin their new life. Counseling is also given here to teach the student how to repair previous bad conditions despite how messed up the situations may be. And here you have it. The 7 steps to eliminating addiction. Remember, the purpose of the Narconon program isn't only to get someone off drugs and alcohol. It's inhumane to have someone live their life in depression, fighting their anxiety, pain, and discomforts. That's not living and is a sure road to relapsing. Your loved one needs to be rehabilitated, which means free from the pain, guilt, inability to sleep, anxiety, and free from drugs. After graduating from the program and before they leave, they're asked to create a plan that shows how they will use their newfound skills to establish a good life for themselves back home. Our counselors are trained to ask key questions which will determine a client's eligibility, potential of success, suitability, and sort out which center will meet their unique needs of that person. We've been doing this for years and have helped hundreds achieve a clean, sober life. To begin the preliminary process of finding a suitable center and getting information about enrolling someone onto the Narconon program, you can call the toll-free number at 1-800-347-7616, extension 555. We'll take good care of you.